you're one of those people that's like, Trump is Hitler. Again, your dumbass party has watered down the name Hitler. The name Hitler isn't even strong anymore. Because you know what? You compare him with Trump, people go, oh, if Hitler's like Trump, then he's not bad. Stop saying that, guys. That's stupid rhetoric. Concentration camp. You're an illegal gang member. Get the fuck out of my country.
Vincent Oshana from the PBD Podcast went on Piers Morgan Uncensored and absolutely annihilated this woke panel here for their deranged talking points, as Vinny from the PBD Podcast is so good at doing, leaving Piers Morgan stunned at just how brutal he was with these woke idiots here live on this episode of Piers Morgan Uncensored. Let's get into this clip here where the PBD post, Vincent Oshana, absolutely annihilates this woke panel, Piers Morgan Uncensored's woke panel, live on national television. Let's get into this clip.
All these old timers, we've got to ripple up and get some new, young, fresh blood and thinking into the party, which I would completely concur with. You know, when you see the likes of Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and these others, you just think you've got to move on now, and you've got to find a new, coherent voice that's going to get people to vote for it and have a view for America. But it can't be the progressive left, can it? Haven't we just seen with the last election an utter repudiation of a lot of what the progressive left stands for? So if you end up with AOC as the standard bearer going forward, I think you end up losing again.
Frankly, I disagree. I mean, Harris, especially after the DNC, was campaigning with Liz Cheney, trying to present herself as like this moderate Nikki Haley, Kamala Harris voter that obviously didn't really exist, or at least not in huge numbers. I think what a lot of us call progressivism is really just common sense. I mean, my big vision for the world is that every American should afford housing, groceries, and healthcare with money left over to save and spend. And that doesn't seem like a very high bar, and it's not for any of our peer countries, but it is here. And neither party is truly messaging on that. I mean, you have on the right now, having tax cuts that benefit the super rich, but not the average American. And these tariffs will cost the average American, I think, about $4,000 every year. And as for Democrats, there are a lot of them that are more interested in their, corporate donors and trying to always cater to this very like milquetoast vision, when both parties should be going towards that idea. Housing, groceries, and healthcare with money left over to save and take your kid to the zoo or go to the movies.
But the reason people don't focus on those things or talk about them is that on the progressive left, you'll also have people at high levels of the party come out and say with a straight face, we think biological men should be in women's sport. And the moment most average Americans hear that, they do what you just did. They roll their eyes and go, you lot are insane. And you're doing it for a different reason. You're doing it because you think I'm insane for saying that. But I can tell you, as somebody who's always been pretty liberal, I think that strategy was completely insane. The idea that you would let your leaders go out and propagate such bullshit, which most Americans with any vein of common sense, as you call it, know is bullshit, that then allows exactly what happened. The Republicans to run with that and say, look at these people, they're nuts.
Yeah, I mean, I do think the Democratic Party has a messaging issue, but I think
funny because I don't, I'm not going to pre-watch this, but I would bet that she's probably going to say something about the trans or biological men and women's sports thing. It's not as big of a deal as people make it out to be, and it's so ridiculous. Republicans overblow this, and it's not happening that much. And it's funny how it's always Democrats that always say that. Whenever someone like Piers Morgan or Vinny or Patrick Bet-David or anyone brings up this point about biological men and women's sports, they always say, oh, you guys are overreacting, it's not happening. And it's like, okay, if we're overreacting and your only way to get around that argument, only way to combat that argument is by saying that it's not happening that much and not defending the fact that it is happening at all, why don't you just disavow it happening at all? Because it seems like you're not going after us for saying that it shouldn't happen. You seem to agree that it shouldn't happen, and your defense for it seems like that it's just not happening that much to be worried about it. So if that's the case, just say that it shouldn't be happening at all, and boom, your messaging problem is fixed. But I guarantee if Piers Morgan or Vinny tried to get this girl in the middle to say that it shouldn't be happening, she would never say that. She would never admit that.
Less about the Democratic Party and more about right-wing media, which I watch and analyze for a living, or at least before I started running for Congress, there's been plenty of research talking about when people transition, how it doesn't really impact their effects in sports. This is a very, very, very tiny percentage of the
it's
population.
complete bullshit. I'm sorry.
Can I please finish
by the way,
this?
I'm not right-wing media in any shape or form.
I'm not saying you are.
But I'm just telling you, I'm not, and I think it's bullshit. The idea that it's a small thing.
They're so predictable, man. It's like they say the same things every time. It's a small percentage of the population. It's like, you guys know I'm not pre-watching. This is insane. It's in their head. They are pre-programmed to say the same things over and over again. It's just unreal. The small percentage of the population, it's not happening that much, but you could back them into a corner. They would never admit to it that it shouldn't be happening at all. It's just sad to see. It's the woke mind virus, all that. It's ridiculous. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about that. Let's get back into this clip.
You're seeing it more and more and more and more and more. There are millions of people, young people in America identifying as trans. This problem is going to get worse and worse and worse. And the issue is about women's rights to equality and to fairness and to safety. Nothing more than that. It's not about trans people. I want the same. Just to be clear, I want the same. Hang on, Kat. I want the same for trans people, but not at the expense of women's rights. That's what it's about. And if you can't have a Democrat Party that stands up completely rock solid for women's rights, because it's far too concerned with promoting a trans agenda where it erodes women's rights, you're never going to get re-elected as a party, ever.
Okay, this is the thing. Trans people's existence, and even like the 40 people that are in sports, isn't the big issue with women's rights. It isn't a women's rights issue.
But it becomes one when you support
Can I please finish?
Obvious unfairness. That's the point.
Can I please finish?
Sure.
Thank you. The thing here is you have Republicans right now in the state, at the federal level, that are saying we need to check children's genitals to make sure they're the right ones before they play. That's a harm to children and women. The SAVE Act, which is going to stop millions of married women from being able to vote if they don't have their birth certificate and proof of their name change, that's an actual harm to women. Trans people existing, and in like one state that did a law against trans kids being in sports, there was literally one trans child that was in any sport who was supported by their own team. This is lawmakers at the state level, people that are being paid, that are full-ass adults, that are bullying children.
So just to be clear, so just to be clear, you would personally like it to continue. You think it's perfectly okay for biological men to compete in women's sport. Is that your position?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't mind trans women being in sports.
Okay. Then this is the problem. Then, Kat, with respect to you,
and I beat them.
Kat, with great respect to you, I'm very glad you're not running this issue in America because it is grotesquely unfair to women. Vinny, final word to you, then I'll come to Tim for his final word.
Well, she just said it. I don't like you're spitting out these numbers. If one man tries to take away a scholarship from a female, that's anti-woman. And for you to sit there and act like it's not a freaking problem, it's happening more and more, like Piers said, every single day. And that's the problem, is this low number talk. If one girl is being affected, and if there's men and women's bathrooms, you guys make it seem like this is we're just coming out of thin air. And that's the problem, Piers, with the Democratic Party. You heard it here first. No vision, no plan. They're totally fine with a male with testicles beating the shit out of women, spiking volleyballs in their freaking face and sending them to the hospital. It's no. It's unbelievable that I'm happy you're exposing yourself, because he nailed it. This is why your party is going to keep losing over and over and over, because you guys are standing on issues that it's so common sense. Men should play with men. Women should play with women. And if you don't think it's affecting women, go ask all these girls that are losing scholarships to men with freaking testicles that are beating the shit out of them in sports.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable that you think like that.
Okay.
Vinny just cooked for sure. And also this girl, I don't know her name, but she said that the fact that we're having to check, or people want to check the genitals of competitors, is worse than the fact that there's women competing in men's sports and men competing in women's sports. That's only happening because you refuse to stop this rhetoric that biological men should be able to compete in women's sports. And if that wasn't a thing, nobody would be checking genitals. So you have the power to stop this. We don't. If you're going to force biological men to be able to compete in women's sports, we are forced to check genitals, allegedly, because it's dangerous. You know, Vinny's talking about And Piers Morgan's talking about how it's taken the scholarships away from women and things like that, which, okay, true. But also women get their face beaten by biological men whenever they're getting in combat sports together. So, yeah, it's like it's two different things happening at the same time here. It's not just a scholarship thing, it's also a safety issue.
I mean, I think, Tim, the wider part, I don't want to, relitigate the whole trans thing, but I think the point is, as the Democrats try and find a new voice, a new way to compete, and a new way to win, I just feel they have to go down the Gavin Newsom route of abandoning just propagating all this progressive far left stuff. Otherwise, they're just unelectable.
Yeah, so just two thoughts on this. Just one really quick on the moral bankruptcy of Vinny's position. I have a more nuanced view than Kat does on trans women in sports, but the idea that having one trans woman in a swimming meet is unacceptable, but I don't care if I wrongly sent, but I don't care, but you don't care apparently if we wrongly sent one person to a concentration camp in El Salvador. If we you don't care about due process. No. You said you don't care about due process.
Two different points. You're conflating two different points.
No, I'm not.
Two different points.
Let me guess.
And you're using the word concentration camp. Tim, you're using the word concentration camp. So you're one of those people that's like, Trump is Hitler. Again, your dumbass party has watered down the name Hitler. The name Hitler isn't even strong anymore. Because you know what? You compare him with Trump, people go, oh, if Hitler's like Trump, then he's not bad. Stop saying that, guys. That's stupid rhetoric. Concentration camp. You're an illegal gang member. Get the fuck out of my country. Period. You don't belong here. You have deportation orders. You're not supposed to be here. You beat your wife. Bye.
Listen.
Bro,
we've got
It's so stupid, and it's such an easy argument to argue against, too. It's like, on the one hand, we have biological men in competing women's sports. What do we gain as a country from having that happen? Absolutely nothing. And on the other hand, we have someone who might have gotten deported wrongfully, right? And we're at risk when we're doing mass deportations, which aren't really taking place. But we're doing mass deportation. There's going to be some risk of some people getting wrongfully deported. The difference is we're getting nothing out of biological men competing in women's sports. Nothing at all. Nothing. We gain nothing from that. We all know that. Versus mass deportations, we are gaining safety within our communities, rebuilding our economy by deporting these immigrants, and maybe messing up. I'm not saying it's a good thing. It's a horrible thing. I would never want that to happen. And if that actually happens, horrible thing to have going on. But if we're comparing the lesser of two evils, there's certainly a more of a positive. There's just no reward with the risk. Let me know in the comments what you think about Vinny from the PBD Podcast going on Piers Morgan Uncensored and torching these woke idiots, including Tim Miller and these other idiots. Let me know in the comments what you think about this whole PBD host Vinny versus Piers Morgan panel. He live on Piers Morgan Uncensored.